A lot of responsibility. Trying to change the world. Politics, music, man, something's gotta work. And do it all, I never give up on my people. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are when you clicked on this link. Welcome to the first episode of Politics and Music. I am your host, Andre Rainey, and I'm looking forward to this season. I want to thank all of my supporters for all of the support they've given me over the years to even allow me to have such a platform. And I've created this platform, this show, to really highlight some of the things that I think need to be discussed, especially here in the state of New York. The political side of the show is the politics part. I'm going to feature some of the local activists, community leaders, elected officials, and those running for office, or just those who are champions in advocacy for change. On the musical side, I'm going to feature some artists, musicians, dancers, especially those artists that choose to use their art to create change. The most important aspect of this entire show for me is the dialogue and the idea of getting people to think again. Not follow the norms, not follow the trends, but to think for yourselves again. It's not intended to be confrontational. However, I am going to be transparent on my opinions and my views. I will feature Democrats. I will feature Republicans. I'll feature members of the Green Party. I'll feature Independence Party. Activists, community leaders, board members of the school district, housing authority board members, anybody who's willing to step up to the plate and make change. Musicians, artists, dancers, visual artists, photographers, anyone who is stepping up to the plate to make change or making noise in their community or creating content that can uplift the people, I hope to have them on my show. During every show, I'm going to ask a series of questions to the guests that I have so you can hear their opinion. If they're running for office, hopefully some of the questions that I ask will give you the answers that you need to decide if that's who you want to support. But I also plan to help bridge the gap between some of the division between Republicans, Democrats, and activists, and elected officials. And there's just so much division. And I think that really sitting down and hearing people's views might make you think differently about people. And what I've learned over the years is that a lot of people now aren't voting based on what they see and believe, but voting on what their party tells them to do. During every episode, we're going to have a small segment of the show called the Memes. Make it make sense. During this part of the show, you're going to hear specific opinions based on my views. And I'm going to say this once loud and clear. These views are my views. Nothing to do with the guests that I have on my show. I want that to be very clear because I don't want to have to repeat it after every single show. This part of the show is Andre Rainey's opinion. The Make It Make Sense segment of the show is always going to be my opinion. Regardless of the guest that I have or what we're talking about, I'm going to share my opinion. I have an agenda to help New York become a shared parenting state. I'm going to speak a lot about domestic violence. I'm going to speak a lot about equality. I'm going to speak a lot about shared parenting. My episodes won't be based on that. However, throughout many of the episodes, I'm going to bring that topic up. But to give you an example, for those of you who are frightened, of the Memes, Make It Make Sense segment of the show, for this first episode, I'm going to give you the honors of seeing my first Make It Make Sense. So take a look, tell me what you think, and I'll be back right after.
Welcome back to Make It Make Sense, where we shine a light on the beautifully bizarre.
Today we're diving into the passionate calls for ceasefire during overseas conflicts. Absolutely, a message we can all rally behind. But here's the kicker. Why do these same voices go silent when violence, gang wars, and murders happen in our own neighborhoods? It's like the urgency to stop bloodshed magically disappears once it hits home. Think about it. If we're truly about saving lives, shouldn't our commitment to peace extend beyond international borders? Why don't we channel that same energy to combat the violence right here, in our communities?
Make it make sense.
So, let's ask the tough question. Why aren't we as loud about the violence in our backyards as we are about conflicts overseas? It's time to make that make sense. Because every life matters, no matter where the conflict is. Until next time, stay curious and engaged.
Join me next time on Make It Make Sense, where we continue to explore the quirks of our delightfully dysfunctional world. Until then, stay sane out there.
Welcome back. So, I hope you enjoyed that Make It Make Sense segment, because whether you enjoyed it or not, we're going to have that segment on every one of my shows. So, there's so much to talk about. I want to talk about politics in New York, the divisiveness, comments made by the elected officials, what artists are putting out music and what is their content, especially the artists coming out of New York. Where are we going as a state, politically, financially, and of course, violence. We need to discuss more about the violence in our community. There's just so much to talk about, and I promise you, I'm going to try to touch every single topic on this episode, on this show, over the first series. I really want to thank my supporters, my team at the House of Content Studios, my local community for even putting me in a position to have a platform to share my thoughts and opinions. But more importantly, to the viewers, if there are people out there that are very active in your community that you think I should welcome on this show, feel free to send them my way. My elected officials, my elected officials and my advocates for change, or just activists out there, period. If you'd like to share your story, share your testimony, and tell us what you're doing to make change, we welcome you as well. My musicians, my artists, whether you're a rapper, an acoustic guitar player, a singer, a dancer, a tap dancer, whatever it is that you do, I would love to hear what you have to say about the ways of the world today, and of course, what's happening here in New York State. We want to touch everybody everywhere. And I only say New York State so much because New York State, when I was growing up, was the leading state in many things, from hip-hop to music to politics. We were always that leading state. I want us to be there again. I want us to be influential again. So the basics of the show is going to be very simple. I'm going to welcome you to the show. I'm going to introduce my guests. I'm going to ask my guests several questions. And then we're going to go to our Make It Make Sense segment. Then after that, I'm going to ask a few more questions, and then the guests are going to give you some wisdom or motivational words to live by, or just a message that they think is necessary for you to hear. Now, I don't want you to miss these shows because I have some pretty good guests lined up. And I think what the guests have to say to some of you may shock you, may blow your minds. And for others, it may give you a different opinion or a different perspective on them. Either way, it's a safe and respectful place for people to voice their opinions. Whether you're an artist of music and hip hop, rock and roll, Democrat, Republican, black, white, short, tall, fat, skinny, green, brown. Politics and music is going to be a game changer. And I thank you all for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you this season. Peace and love.
That's the power of no excuses. The black man can. That's the motto I'm using. See, we always had the skill. I just